Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the geography class, and let's start here the chapter the composition and the structure of the atmosphere. And this is the second session. In the first session, I explained you about the composition of atmosphere. In this session, we're going to see about the structure of the atmosphere. So as you can find here, this is a one diagram, and that shows the picture of the structure of the atmosphere. And you can find here that the first layer, as the atmosphere is divided into different layers. So the first layer, that is up to 18 kilometer, is called troposphere. Then the second layer starts from the 18 kilometer up to 50 kilometer, is known as stratosphere. Then from 50 to 80, this layer is called mesosphere. Now usually in the book it is given from 18 to 80, both the layer, even the mesosphere is included in the stratosphere in your book. In some of the book, both the layer is usually called as the one layer, but usually if you find these are the two different layers. Then from 80 to 480, or in round figure 500 is given here. So 80 to 480, there is a layer known as ionosphere or thermosphere. Now usually this layer is known as thermosphere because ionosphere lies within the thermosphere. And from 480 to about 10,000, now here it is taken up to 40,000 kilometer height, and this layer is known as the exosphere. And you can find here that all the satellites, they revolves around the earth in this layer. And these pictures that tell you about some important facts, like between 80 to 480, that is 500, you can find here a space shuttle, and all the communication satellites, they are usually found in this layer. Now mesosphere is the layer where you can find the weather balloon, usually can fly up to this height, and the data are recorded here. The stratosphere, which is the second layer, and in which you can find the passenger aircraft and all the jet aircrafts, usually they fly in this layer, stratosphere, because in this layer there is absence of the cloud and the birds. Then the lower layer, the troposphere, you can find all the activities, all the living things and everything activities that takes place in the first layer. So let's see here the explanation of each layer one by one, and we will start with the troposphere. So the word troposphere, it is literally, actually it is derived from a Greek word known tropos. The word tropos means, it is a Greek word, means mixing. So you can find in this layer all sorts of mixing. Usually you can find like all the pollution is released in this layer, then all types of the mixing of everything, even the clouds are found in this layer, water vapor is found in this layer, clouds, all the weather phenomena takes place in this layer. Well, so this is known as the troposphere, mixing or turbulation. Well, so next is this layer, usually as in this figure you can find it shows here up to 18 kilometer, but usually this 18 kilometer is on equator, because what happens towards the pole, it keeps on decreasing, and the height above the pole is only 8 kilometer. So this height of troposphere, on the poles it is only 8 kilometer, but on equator it can be up to 16 kilometer or 18 kilometer someplace. Well, so the average height of this layer, when we take out, it is 14 kilometer above sea level. Now this is the layer actually in which usually you can find all types of gases, all the gases, especially the major gases, oxygen and nitrogen, which are the major gases. They are found in this layer. So usually the atmosphere, there contains the water vapor. It is the colorless, odorless, gaseous form of water which mixes with the gases, and even the dust particles are also found in this layer. And the dust particles which are found in this layer usually are known as the SPM, that is suspended particulate matter. Suspended particulate matters are the very fine dust particles usually, which is very difficult for them to settle down because they are so fine. So they mix with the air and they become the part of the atmosphere. That's why they are also known as SPM, suspended particulate matter, and these are the only dust particles found in the atmosphere. And the large part of this atmosphere also is water vapor. Now water vapor, when it condenses, so it forms clouds and fogs, and this you can find in this layer, which is very common. And what happens when the condensation takes place in the clouds? So what happens? The rainfall occurs, sometimes hail and the snow or the sleet. They are the different forms of precipitation we're going to see in the next chapter. Well, so these are the things you can find in the first layer, troposphere. At the same time, you can find all the human activities that takes place in this layer, and all the automobile sector and the industrial sector, they release pollution where? In this layer, troposphere. Well, that's why in some parts of the cities where these pollution mixed with the water vapor, they forms smog. Now they are very common here. We're going to see in the coming chapters. Now some of the other important feature of this troposphere is, in this layer usually the temperature keeps on decreasing as we go up. So usually as we go up, temperature keeps on decreasing, but the decrease of temperature, the rate at which the temperature decreases is about 1 degree centigrade at every 160 meter. Now that can be taken as 6.4 degrees centigrade per kilometer, means at every 1 kilometer the temperature, it decreases by 6.4 degrees centigrade. So this is a very common feature that takes place in this layer, troposphere. Now second layer is the stratosphere, and we will see about both stratosphere and mesosphere together, because in the book stratosphere is taken from 18 to 80. Well, now here first of all, between this troposphere and stratosphere there is a very thin layer. Now in this picture it is not shown. Now a very thin layer separates the troposphere and stratosphere, and we call it tropopause. Means all the mixing is here, it gets stopped. So this is the lowermost limit of stratosphere, or you can say the uppermost limit of troposphere is tropopause. Now this stratosphere actually is free from any type of water vapor and the dust particles and clouds, means the clouds are not found here. Well, some very thin clouds are found which are very light, and they can even reach up to this height, but usually they don't shed any rainfall. So no weather phenomena takes place in this layer. So now only I told you a very slight type of clouds, they are called cirrus clouds, which are usually known as the pearl clouds. They are very thin clouds, and they usually are found in this layer. Well, and they don't carry any moisture, right? So they don't shed any type of rainfall. Well, next is, now in this stratosphere lies there one more layer which is called ozonosphere. So between 20 and 30 kilometer there lies one layer, and this layer ozonosphere is formed of one gas known as ozone. Now this ozone is what? Ozone is the 3 atoms of oxygen together, they combines together to form ozone. Now this ozone has a very unique characteristic. It absorbs the ultraviolet rays from the sun. So it acts as a filter for the UV rays. So this ozonosphere, it acts as a filter, which is found where? In stratosphere. Then we have seen already that between that picture I shown you, this is between 50 to 80 kilometer. This layer, it is within the stratosphere. Well, it's a separate layer known as mesosphere. Now in your book it is included in this layer. Now what is a mesosphere? Now mesosphere, it is a layer in which usually it is known for the meteors. Now actually what happened, the mesosphere is the layer where a slight amount of oxygen is found. So what happened when some rock particles, you may know about the meteorites. So when these meteorites, they enters, what are the meteorites? There are so many free, very very big rocks and small rocks. They usually freely move in the space, and sometimes when they comes in the contact of the gravitational force of the earth, they enters in the earth atmosphere, because the gravitational force of the earth, it just pull them in their atmosphere. And when these meteors, they enters in the atmosphere of the earth, and when they enters in mesosphere, now here because slight amount of oxygen is found, so what happens, they catches fire. And sometimes we can see like a star, shooting stars. You may know about the shooting stars. So right, and usually we call broken star. So the broken star is the shooting star, sometimes you can find in the sky. Well, so these type of things occurs. Why? That occurs in this mesosphere. So when these meteorites, when they enter in mesosphere, because of the presence of slight amount of oxygen, they catches fire. So this mesosphere, that found between 50 to 80 kilometer. Now in your book it is included in the stratosphere. Now next is the ionosphere or thermosphere. Now this already we have seen in the previous session when I was explaining you about this heterosphere, in which you have studied about the ionosphere and thermosphere. So this thermosphere is a layer which is found between 80 kilometer to 480 kilometer, and within thermosphere there lies ionosphere. Now usually these ionosphere, they contains the negatively charged particles. Which type of particles? They are the electrically charged particles, or we also call it negatively charged particles. So electrically charged particles means electrons, right? So that's why these particles, because of these particles, they are also known as ions. The molecules which are electrically charged, we also call them negatively charged. They are also known as ions, and this is why this layer is known as, in the thermosphere, where these ions are found in a very thick layer, so they are called ionosphere. Now there is a very important one term is there, you can see here in your book on your screen, ionization. You may underline it. What is ionization? Ionization refers to the process by which atoms are charged into ions through the removal or addition of electrons, giving them an electrical charge. Now how these molecules, they get electrically charged? So actually, as all of you know, there are large amount of different types of cosmic rays, and the radiation tries to enter in the atmosphere of the earth. Now what happens in this thermosphere? The molecules, when they comes in the contact with this radiation, so what happen? They get electrically charged, and they just forms into ions. So this is how actually these atoms, they are charged, right, and they just change into ions, and this is how this layer is formed. Well, so all of you know. Now some of the harmful radiation, very high radiated radiation gases, the rays are ultraviolet rays. Like example, I'm telling you, I'm showing you some example. Ultraviolet rays are very powerful rays, X-rays and gamma rays. Now these rays, usually they are having the radiation in them. I'm just telling you some example. Now beside them there are so many different types of radiation, in common term we usually call them cosmic rays, because different type of rays being emitted from the different planets and the different celestial bodies, they tries to enter in the atmosphere of the earth. So together sometimes we call them in one term like as cosmic rays. Now they are the radiation. Well, now here the temperature in this layer, the ionosphere, usually will find it's very very cold. The temperature is minus 100 degree centigrade, so it's very very cold here. And another important feature of this layer is this ionosphere reflects the low frequency radio waves, but it absorbs the medium and high frequency waves, and thus this layer is especially important for what thing? For the long distance radio communication. This is why actually the radio signals can be catch from different other part of the other side of the world. Now why? As you can find, when the radio waves they are released, so as they tries to escape the atmosphere, and then again and again they are being reflected back, because these ionosphere, they don't allow these radio waves to escape in the space, and again they just reflect them back. So these radio waves, they just travel in the atmosphere of the earth, in the atmosphere, the first layer, the second layer, and this is how it just travels from travel the whole world, and these signals can be catch, right? Well, so this is about the radio communication. Now the last layer, as I told you, which starts from 480, and usually it is found up to 9600, and the round figure in some books it is given 10,000, but in some book you can find, like in this book already I shown you, 40,000 is written here. Well, so this layer is called exosphere, and this outermost layer of the atmosphere, it forms the outermost boundary of the atmosphere. It separates the atmosphere of the earth from the space. Now this layer contains very very light gases like hydrogen and the helium. These hydrogen helium gases are very very light gases. So because of this light weight, they have escaped from the lower layer, and they are found in this exosphere. So these are the different layers of the atmosphere we have seen. Now in the next session we will start the ozonosphere. We will see about the ozone in the stratosphere, the description. We will see the formation of ozone, then the importance of ozone, and about the ozone depletion and its harmful effects. And then one more thing we are going to see, the international measures to save ozone layer, and the last topic, global warming. So we will finish in the last session, and one more session is needed, and this chapter will be over. All of you start checking your the last session of every chapters, even the previous chapters, after the examination, because very soon, as I finish the uploading the notes of class 8th, and very soon I will upload the notes of class 9th also one by one, right? So regularly check the last session of every chapter, and very soon you will see, and whenever you can find it, and if it is possible, you just download it, or you may select in your computer or desktop or maybe laptop, you can select that the whole notes, and you can paste it in your Microsoft Word. So like this actually you can get the thing. That is very easy. So all the best, all of you. Just read the chapter, find out the question answer, because only the notes I will provide. I will not provide you the question answers. So all the best.